Hi, thank you so much for joining. Today I'm focusing on how you can release anxiety related to appearances through gardening and through a deeper connection with nature all around. So I'm betting that most of you have experienced some anxiety related to appearance, whether it's your appearance, whether it's your home, whether it's your how your kids appear, your gardens even. And for women that already struggle with anxiety and self-doubt, boy, can this be pretty intensified for you. And I wanted to share how there are some really powerful ways that a deeper connection with nature, and specifically with gardening and native gardening, gardening with native plants, really helps us release our anxiety related to appearances. Now, where do we pick up these anxieties? We are conditioned in so many ways to dissect appearances, whether it's through our family of origin, how we were brought up, or what we have taken on through our society and through our culture and through, media. And all of these stories and beliefs that we acquire over the years they can really lead to some very painful and a lot of suffering associated with how we view appearances. And when we are aware of how we have stories and beliefs and thoughts that come up when we are viewing appearances, how we appear to the world, how our children appear to the world, how our gardens appear to the world, it is really, it can be so healing to be able to hear those thoughts, because thoughts, when you have them many, many times, they become beliefs. And just because you have a thought doesn't mean that it's true. This is something that I repeat all the time. Just because you think it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. And this is especially important when it comes to being aware of thoughts that create pain or suffering or discomfort within your inner world, because that affects everything about your life. And if you repeatedly think thoughts without realizing where they're coming from, and they're not good thoughts for you, they become beliefs. They become a belief that you no longer question. And I want you to know that you can question these thoughts and you can question these beliefs, especially when it comes to appearances, because how we view our appearance, how we view how our, children, our home, appears to the world can have a big impact on your anxiety levels, your self-confidence, of course, and your fulfillment and your ability to generate more peace within yourself. So today I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about beliefs that we have related to appearance. And we all have our own story of how we acquired our beliefs and our thoughts related to appearance. And understanding where those stories come from is really the first huge step towards releasing those anxieties and to healing your relationship with appearance. And we all have different histories with this. I just wanted to share a little bit of my history with you so that maybe you'll see a little bit of your history in my story, or it may be a completely different kind of conditioning that you experienced related to appearance. But I just want you to, listen to what my story is and reflect on how the story of how you have been conditioned by your family, by society, by our culture, to how you are viewing appearance and why you may be experiencing anxieties around that. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. I would love to hear in the chat if anybody just can raise their hand or just say, yes, I struggle with appearance anxiety. And I want you to know that it is very normal, especially for women that already are struggling with anxiety and self-doubt. Having an additional layer of anxiety around appearance, whether it's your, physical appearance or the appearance of your home or the appearance of your children, I just want to normalize this, that so many of us do have pain and suffering around this. So today I wanted to focus on that because I know that there is healing available to you right outside your door. And just as a quick story, my own personal experience with the anxiety associated with appearance. I'm an only child. I grew up in a family that highly valued appearance. And this was normal for me in my upbringing. Of course, when you're brought up in a situation where something in particular is highly valued, you don't even question it as a child, right? Because your parents are all on board with it and they're reiterating the importance of appearance. In my case, I had two very different kind of approaches and stories that I was hearing. My dad was in the military police, in the Army. His focus on orderliness, cleanliness, perfection in all things related to appearance. Okay, so that was one set of stories that I heard. And also, my mom was an art teacher for almost 30 years. She was highly creative, loved to be surrounded by beautiful things, beautiful views, beautiful objects. So, the combination of my parents between having a dad who, ex military police, the guy who used to go into the barracks and make sure everybody's shoes were shined perfectly and beds were made so you could bounce a quarter off. Having that kind of feedback from my dad and then my mom's view of the importance of art and beauty and appearance from an aesthetic standpoint, I received a lot of messages about appearance. And I am not judging my parents. They were coming from their own experiences, from their own upbringing, from their own life experience around how they valued appearance. And as a result, when I was growing up, I was often asked to put on more makeup or, do my hair more nicely or wear different clothes, wear something nicer, go put on something nicer, Stephanie. I would often hear that. Or put on a little more makeup before you go to school. This was in high school. Or, you need to brush your hair more. Or, I think it's time for you to get your hair highlighted. Or, there were just a lot of feedback that I received as a child that ended up unintentionally giving me the impression that my natural appearance was not enough, that there needed to be more, that I needed to do more, I needed to try more. And to be perfectly honest with you, I could care less about all that stuff when I was growing up. I was never a girl that got into makeup or, nails or getting really into clothes. I just didn't really care about all of that stuff. There were other things that I wanted to do with my time and with my energy, and the other things that felt more fulfilling to me. And because I kept hearing these stories over and over again, no judgment of my parents. They were simply doing what they had probably been taught, and they were passing along their own experiences to me. But as a result of all of that focus on appearance and our house as well, the big joke was always, when is, Architectural Digest coming for the photo shoot? Because both of my parents insisted on an extremely clean house. And it it took me a while to realize that the house itself may have been beautiful and meticulous and clean, but if you opened up a closet door, the shit would all fall out. It was like, it was the superficial, it was the outward appearance that was most paid, that had the most attention paid to it. Same with the garden. And you know, I love to talk about gardens. I've been gardening my entire life, mainly flower gardens. And our gardens growing up were immaculate. You know, the plants were evenly spaced. There were no weeds in between the plants. There was mulch applied. You know, we would even take the dead flowers off of the plants. It was that level of being meticulous because of the focus on outward appearance, okay? Now, all of this, I gotta tell you, really did a number on me when I was growing up. And it really hasn't been until the last, I'd say, decade that I have stepped into a greater place of and far less anxiety about appearances. When my husband and I were first married and we would have a party for his workplace, this was before kids, I would get so wound up about everything being perfect. And gosh, looking back on it, I'm like, of course I felt that way because that was the conditioning that I received as I was growing up. And so I hope that this little just story of my personal experience can show you how we all have different reasons that we experience anxiety around appearance. And that is my little explanation of it. And in the last 10 years, I've really come to understand how that focus on outward appearance has really generated a lot of pain and suffering in my own life. Again, I'm not judging, faulting, blaming my parents. They did the best they could, and my dad continues to. Although I will say that even just a couple of years ago, my dad asked me, "Can you put a little bit more makeup on?" 49 years old, my dad is asking me to put more makeup on. No, it's not going to be that way anymore. I'm not going to allow those stories to continue to generate anxiety in my life. And recognizing that those stories can result in anxiety is such a wonderful first step for you, for anybody who experiences appearance anxiety. Because, first of all, recognizing those stories is the key. That really opens up your awareness, that allows you to start to observe your thinking around appearance and start to send yourself some compassion around how that conditioning has led you to feel and to be in the world and to think of yourself and to think of how you are, your home and your kids and your pets and everybody, how they are being in the world. So I will say that becoming a mother was a big jolt into releasing anxiety around appearance because, as you know, if you've been a parent, if you are a parent, you know that we have very little control over what our kids do. And knowing that that is the case, for me, especially with our son who is special needs and had a lot of extreme behavioral challenges in his first 4 or 5 years of life, I had to release the anxiety of being so concerned about how he appeared, how we appeared, what it said about us, what it said about our family. I had to let that stuff go because there was just simply no room for it. I needed to be present for my son to support him. And that was a big aha moment for me in understanding how much anxiety I have had over the years associated with appearance. Now, as I've said, the thought work, being mindful of your thinking around your anxieties, is the first step toward healing and toward recognizing that you are not your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. Not all of your thoughts are true. So when you start to see that and you become able to, with compassion and with a certain amount of detachment, that you can observe your thinking and you can start to identify what thoughts feel the best to you, what thoughts do not. And then you can ask yourself, but is this thought even true? Is this even true that, like my dad told me a couple of years ago, you really should put more makeup on? Well, I didn't engage him in a conversation about that because I've learned, but inside I'm like, well, is this true? I don't feel like I need to put more makeup on. I'm content with where I'm at. So allowing those thoughts to drive how you believe and to drive the stories that you tell yourself is it's a dangerous territory to be in, to just believe all of the thoughts that we have bouncing around in our head, because we have tens of thousands of thoughts in our heads every single day. Imagine if we believed everything. And many of us do. Maybe you do. I want you today to begin the wonderful path of recognizing your thoughts, observing your thoughts with compassion. Become an observer of your own mind. It is groundbreaking in terms of how it can impact your life. And I will say too that gardening, if you love nature, if you love to be outside, if you are a gardener, the experience of committing to work with native plants, to growing a garden of native plants, is a powerful way of releasing appearance anxiety. Because here's the deal, our gardening culture, what we hear, what we see, what's glorified out there for a long, long time has been these meticulous gardens that are like what I described. I grew up having to help my parents maintain. No weeds, mulch around everything, maybe pick off the dead flowers. Who cares if the plant is from here or not? It's pretty, we're going to plant it. That was the mentality, and that still is the mentality for a lot of our gardening culture. But it is slowly shifting because of this. There is far greater value and contribution to the world to plant native plants, to plant things that are of the area where you live, to plant the plants that will benefit all of nature around you, from the soil and the water and the air to insects and birds and mammals of all types. And when I started seeing how gardening with native plants really had this far greater value to the world around us, I recognize that even if they look a little different, okay, native gardens are not usually super meticulous. They're not usually, each individual plant is spaced equal, distance from each other, and everything's mulched and clipped and pretty. That is usually not what we see in a native garden, and for good reason. I'm going to be very blunt, because those meticulous gardens are often ecological dead zones. They are dead zones. They may be beautiful. They may get on magazine covers and on Pinterest boards, but so many of them are virtually dead. They are not providing value. They are not contributing to the world. They are superficial. Those traditional cultivated gardens, they are a superficial, appearance focused approach to gardening, which for me, and I think for a lot of women, feels very similar to the messaging that we have received over the years about our appearance, right? That it's superficial, that we want everything to be nice and neat and maintained and, acceptable to everybody around us. And when we start to realize, but what's behind that? And this is beyond the whole, I think that overly focusing on superficial appearance, it becomes so shallow. It causes us to think shallowly, to feel shallowly. And the greater that we can recognize the value, tap into what is the value, what is the contribution of this appearance, whether it is how you appear physically, how your home appears, how your children appear. Why do we want to focus so much about that? Why do we want to focus so much about the superficial appearance? What is the greater good going on behind the focus on superficial appearance? And in most cases, it's not a lot. Just like those meticulously curated gardens. When we start to look at a certain way and to invest in your appearance through time and effort and money, how is it making you feel on the inside? Does it make you feel much better? Does it contribute to your greater world? Does it cause you to have a little spring in your step? Does it help you in your relationships because you feel more confident? All of these reasons are beautiful reasons to focus on appearance and to value appearance, not just the superficial. And the same thing with nature, the same thing with our native gardens. When we choose to look at the greater contribution, at the value, especially for gardens, the ecological value that you have the ability to bring to the world through gardening right outside your door. It's windy outside, so I didn't do the live outside, but I wanted to set up by a window because our goldenrod is blooming. They are covered in bees, covered, and so important at this time of year. It's really the last hurrah for bees to get those nutrients so that many of them can overwinter. And that is an example of an appearance that has a greater value. There's greater meaning behind using a plant like goldenrod than just, sorry folks, I'm going to call out the mums. I used to use mums all the time. I know so many people do. They are so beautiful at this time of year. However, they do not have a lot of ecological value. In fact, the industry of creating mums is so intensive. It requires so much, materials and water, all to create a plant that we stick in a pot for maybe a month max in the fall, and it provides a beautiful fall color, does not provide a lot of ecological value, and then we throw it away, right? That plant does not survive into the next year. I've tried here in the upper Midwest to overwinter mums, didn't work for me. Maybe some people have ways of doing that. I don't think most people choose to put them in the ground because they just don't overwinter. So I look at that tradition that we have now of planting mums and how many hundreds and thousands of mums that are being planted at this time of year, and they have very little value beyond their superficial appearance. So when we choose to garden with plants that are native to the area that you live, that have evolved with the nature that is around you, you will see how much value they provide. In addition to being beautiful on the outside, you will feel and experience and witness for yourself the tremendous ecological value that they have, as well as all of the beauty that native plants bring to your home. And if you couple this with your thought work about appearance, about anxiety that may come up for you around appearance, and I'm not just talking about the appearance of your garden, but the appearance, the appearance of your home, of your children, of your pets. We think about appearance all day long in so many nuanced ways, subtle ways. And if you are a woman who struggles with anxiety and self doubt, and if you realize that appearance is creating anxiety for you, I really encourage you to do some thought work, to allow yourself to observe your thinking, to observe how those thoughts automatically come up for you around appearance, and that you do not have to believe those thoughts. You can choose not to believe those thoughts. You can choose to change them to something that feels better, to something that maybe simply is a neutral thought. And this is a huge step toward relieving and releasing anxieties related to appearance. And when you couple it with your work in connecting with nature, in choosing to see the value of our natural world beyond what we see on the surface, when you choose to see how there is so much being offered by gardening with native plants, by nature all around us, it is part of the healing process that Mother Earth is offering to you that can help you in your everyday life. So, with that, I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope that this resonated for you. I love to merge nature and gardening and our mental health because it is also connected. You are nature, you are a child of nature, and Mother Earth is offering you so much wisdom and support to heal you, to allow you to release anxieties, to increase your self-confidence, and to just have a more peaceful and fulfilling life. If this kind of work resonates for you, I would love to have the opportunity to talk with you more about eco-intuitive life coaching. You can apply for not apply, you can request your free breakthrough session by clicking the link that will be down below in the description, or by going to ournaturalwisdom.com/breakthrough. This is a time for us to have a private phone call where you can talk about where you're at, where you're envisioning yourself as wanting to be, and how I and eco-intuitive life coaching with Mother Earth can help get you there. It would be such a joy to support you, and Mother Earth is right here to provide all of her beautiful support for you as well. Let's do it together. Go to ournaturalwisdom.com/breakthrough. It's been so great joining you today. I look forward to joining you again next week for another episode of Reclaim Your Peace with Mother Earth. Have a beautiful week, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.